Now I am pleased to introduce Chris Hart, founder and CEO of Next Gen Golf and co-chair of the Millennial Task Force for the golf industry.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Chris Hart, again, the founder and CEO of Next Gen Golf. I co-chair the Millennial Task Force with Glenn Gray from the Buffalo Agency. And on behalf of Golf 2020, the industry coalition, and our Millennial Task Force, wanted to thank you all for joining us today. The Millennial Task Force, for those of you who don't know, is a group of folks made up of 12 of us from the industry, from all different facets of the industry. Our goal is to showcase how the game is fun, young, and cool through a variety of committees, and really show how golf courses and how the industry can work together to better engage our industry and equip our courses, facilities, and operators with the best information available moving forward. This subgroup consists of members from the USGA, the CMAA, the NGCOA, PGA Tour, and PGA of America, and we've all worked collaboratively together to provide this program and other information and collateral for the industry to help better engage millennials. I'm now pleased and honored to introduce Matt Ginella from the Golf Channel. Many of you may know Matt specific to his work on Golf Channel, where he's been since 2013. He's a regular on the morning drive, and some of you have maybe have seen some of his travel tips, both regarding the United States and around the world. Matt's a senior editor at golfadvisor.com, the largest online source for golf course ratings, reviews, and recommendations by golfers for golfers. I'm excited to introduce Matt, who's going to be running our panel today. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. As I said before we opened up the webinar, this is my first webinar, so I'm very excited to be a part of all this. I'm probably going to learn just as much as anybody on the line here. And I'm also looking to hear from the panel. I've grew up in golf, worked in golf, played college golf, and I'm lucky enough to still have a job in golf. I get paid to do something I love. As I said, I've never worked a day in my life, really, from Sports Illustrated to then Golf Digest and now to Golf Channel. I get the sense that a lot of people want my job, which also gets me up early in the morning, making sure that I stay on top of things and try to keep my fingers on the pulse of the game as best I can. I've always said the best education that I think you can get is by traveling. There's no better way of actually experiencing a culture and understanding the way the world is working than getting on a plane or getting in your car and going and experiencing it for yourself. And I've been lucky enough to be able to do that now, specifically as a travel journalist for over 11 years. And I've heard a lot of the rumblings of the game that the game is in trouble, that it's too expensive, it's too hard, it takes too long, and certainly I think that has been true. I actually, I've totally embraced the movement in the game, and I'm watching it happen where all those concerns are being addressed on a regular basis, and if they're not, then those particular facilities either are private and they're privately funded and they can play by their own rules and they have that luxury, or those facilities or destinations are making the drastic changes that they need to make sure that they stay a viable and successful business. I think millennials, to speak specifically to this particular subject and topic, are holding the game accountable on all those questions and concerns. I think for a long time, I think whether it was the development or architecture or the business model was hyper-focused on trying to attract players who get paid to play the game. I've said this a couple times on Morning Drive. The refreshing thing now, it seems like everywhere I go, that focus has shifted to focus on the people who pay to play the game and making sure that when they do come to that particular facility or destination, that they do have a good experience, that they do feel like they get value, that they do have some element of fun, that they have paid to play this game, and thus they are demanding to feel like that they've had fun playing that game. And whether that's Pinehurst, rerouting two of their long-standing courses and essentially remodeling their front porch, in the cradle of American golf to make way for a Gil Hanse, 9-hole short course that caters to truly their clientele, which is a wide range of, ages from anywhere from, first time picking up a club to, in late 80s or 90s even, for Pinehurst to make that shift and react to places like Bandon Dunes, which has a short course, Big Cedar Lodge, which now has 2 short courses. We know about Pebbles' Jeehae course across the street from there. I think this movement towards short and fun, and then simultaneously places like Streamsong, which built a big golf course, Gil Hanse, or Gamble Sands in Brewster, Washington, or what's being done in Wisconsin with Sand Valley, with David Kidd and Corin Crenshaw, building big golf courses where almost anybody can hit the fairway and almost anybody can hit the green and almost anybody can have the potential at pars, but more importantly birdies, and walk away talking about the experience as opposed to what they paid to be there is all a good thing. So the simultaneous development of big and fun and small and fun, with the common denominator being fun, is a reaction also to, and Jeehae will talk about this, but also the emergence of things like Topgolf, where again fun is the premium. I've kind of have a real positive outlook on the game. I feel like the life cycle of a golfer can be that we want to get clubs in hands, in the kids' hands, expose them to the game, to the rules, the integrity, the purpose of the game, and all the positives that come with that. And then, understand that there's a lot of things that happen in life, and that ultimately they may need to go away from the game for a while or not make it a priority for a while as they chase education, their careers, the personal life of the significant others, a family, and hope that they either come back to it at some point or keep sort of being a part of it for a certain amount of time. And when they come back to it, they bring their kids to the game as well, introduce them, and pay it forward and introduce their kids to the game. And we talked a lot about that when I was at Golf Digest. We now starting to talk a little bit about that at Golf Channel. If you take First Tee, which has only been around for 20 years, that have been putting clubs in kids' hands, and then you take the development of Youth on Course, which then helps subsidize green fees so that kids can then keep playing at an affordable rate. These programs might have a real direct impact now, but they're going to have a bigger impact, say, 20 years after those kids or 30 years after those kids get introduced to the game, when they do come back to the game to say, hey, this is something I can now continue to focus on for the rest of my life and travel and play with my family and my friends. So I see that golf lifestyle having. We may not really experience the true benefits of something like First Tee or Youth on Course until, say, something like right now. If a kid was 7 years old when he first joined First Tee, he's only 27 now. Well, in the middle of tracing careers and that life that I was talking about, they are only just now getting ready to kind of come back to the game that they were introduced to 20 years ago. And I think the game is a much better place now to embrace them coming back. Not only them, but maybe the kids that they're having as they introduce the game to them. And so I'm pretty positive and pretty excited about the future. And with that, I'll introduce the rest of the panel, which includes Giff, president and owner of Independence Golf Club, Matt Flory, general manager at TPC San Antonio, who I've met and know, and Cole Handley, PGA Pro and director of Millennial Golf at Poppy Hills, a place that really birthed the concept of Youth on Course and now is spreading to 19 golf associations now in America, and I can only expect that number to go up. which is also very exciting, and then Jeehae, lead director of Topgolf Tour and Topgolf Crush. So I'll go back to Giff and sort of let him speak about his experiences first. Giff?
Thanks, Matt. It's a real pleasure to be with everybody today. I share Matt's enthusiasm for where golf is going. My brother Alan and I bought Independence Golf Club about 4 years ago with the idea that we weren't buying a golf course, even though it's a Tom Fazio facility. We decided we were going to purchase an experiential entertainment center, and since then we've added a ballroom, we have art studios, we have music classes, laser tag, paintball, fishing, foot golf, all sorts of assorted activities. But as it relates to millennials, we really have 3 areas of focus. The first is customer service. I think we've learned from millennials that we really need to deliver on everything we're doing, whether it's one of our brick oven pizzas or a round of golf. It's as simple as point and click and post, and all of a sudden you have issues. And so we really try to learn from that and really drive our customer experiences. The next bucket for us is activities. They need to be fun and quick and action-packed. We have live music on Thursdays. We put cars on the range on Fridays and let people hit balls at them. We have cameras for hole-in-one contests. We have range games. We have golf bikes. We do free clinics on Saturday as an effort to get people engaged in golf. Next bucket is technology. We've Wi-Fi'd the entire front and back of the campus, and we're working with another technology partner to try to end up Wi-Fiing the entire facility. I think if you talk to a millennial and try to remove a phone from them, they'd rather give you their arm than give them the phone. So we're really working hard on the technology side, which obviously spills over into the social media side. The last area is partnerships. We have a number of very strong partners, like what you might see at a ballpark. We have 40 sponsors. Lexus is our lead sponsor. We have Lexus CT Hybrids as our beverage cars. But we're able to use those partnerships to really, I think, drive value for millennials. So we have, as an example, a partnership with a local health club. So somebody can join, we're a public facility, but somebody can join our facility and the health club, and if they want to do golf and swimming, it's one price. Golf, swimming, and workout, it's another price. They've got 2 kids, 8 kids, whatever. It's all sort of menu priced. So those are the 4 areas that we're really focused on as it relates to kind of driving millennial participation. Thanks, Matt.
All right, great. Thank you. And with that, we'll go Matt Flory, General Manager at TPC San Antonio.
Matt, it's good to visit with you again, and we got a chance to visit a couple years back in high velocity here at the JW Marriott and talk about the water slides, and it's a pleasure to get to visit with you.
Yeah.
If I sound a little bit more wispy than I did a couple years ago, it's either because I got some allergies with this cold trend, or I had a BLT instead of a salad at lunch. I wish I would have opted for the salad. What I would say is for us is a lot of it starts with the research, right? And I'm speaking largely in part of TPC San Antonio, but certainly on behalf of some of our colleagues for the TPC network, we all work hand in hand here on the PGA Tour side. And what I mean by that is the word millennial kind of gets used a lot, right? But when you Google or web search millennials, you'll actually find articles out there where millennials that are in that age group take somewhat offense to the term millennial, right? So we try to go beyond the definition and say, okay, what are 5 or 6 main categories, and how do we bring those categories that define a millennial into life? So I'll give you an example. You know, if you look at millennials by definition, and this isn't me coming up with this, this is some of the homework we've done, you know, millennials are educated, right? It says 34% of 25 to 29-year-olds hold either a bachelor, master's, or doctorate. So you have to be educated in your approach. So our sales team, for instance, you know, our sales team, we make sure not just to put a fancy word on a promotion or on a membership drive. We try to have a credible reasoning for that specific promotion, because our clients are going to be more educated, and they'll see beyond just a catchphrase, if you will. You know, if you look online, it describes millennials as tech savvy. So some of this is where it's a bit more tangible. We've converted at the TPC network from a co-op standpoint much of our print advertising to online presence. Certainly everything design-wise from a web application is designed mobile first, which is something certainly we weren't doing years ago, and that's, I think, you could attribute specifically to millennials. You know, our target audience is, interestingly enough, from a price point standpoint, our target audience, you could maybe say, may not be millennials, right? And maybe Generation X or even baby boomers from a price standpoint specific to a resort. But you got to make sure you tap into the millennials, and the way we're doing that is certainly having a social media presence, but doing a lot of sweepstakes at our TPC tour event, certainly here on property. So if those millennials don't yet have the resources to play at some peak times, you're still engaging with them with some sweepstakes, with the opportunity to come play under that regard. Millennials, by definition, what we're finding are civic-oriented. So every TPC does a Birdies for the Brave event, which is one of our primary philanthropies with military appreciation. And so we don't do it to tout ourselves, but we make sure we educate the staff on the audience on that. And then every TPC does an Adopt a Charity. And so from the civic-minded folks, we make sure to embrace that, and the millennials are appreciative of that. Global citizens is how millennials are described if you go by definition, and that's one thing the PGA Tour has done. They now allow cell phone usage in terms of data during tournament week, all week, and even during play, and so the millennials are never too far away from the global citizen piece. And then last but not least, they're conscious, right? Which if you look on there by definition, millennials, it's very important that all stakeholders are happy, and they can see that from all the employees. So we spend a lot of time with our employees, like ensuring they feel empowered and they're satisfied, because that's going to translate with the guest, and millennials will be able to see that. So there's certainly some programs that we do, no doubt, but we try to take it a step further and kind of take each definition and make sure we bring that to life.
Sounds good. All right, next up, Cole Handley, PGA Pro and Director of Millennial Golf at Poppy Hills.
You said it right there. I could not be more excited to be on the phone with you guys today and kind of share what we're doing here at Poppy Hills and Poppy Ridge. Millennial is the heartbeat for our operation right now. That is where my focus is. My job was created specifically around that market. And what we're realizing is the key to accessing that market is technology and not being scared of it. As a golf course head golf professional, which I was currently just before taking this new role, technology is fearful. It's easy to be scared of technology. There's a lot going on. It's always changing. Is it Facebook? Is it Snapchat? Is it Instagram? Where are these people? Where are they at? And the key thing for us is making sure that we're giving the people what they want, when they want it, and we're getting it to them where they want it. So do they want it on Instagram? I don't know. Do they want it on Snapchat? Some do. Making sure that we are in every market at all times with constant content is really the key focus of my position. Staying a student of the industry, not being scared, not getting stuck in Facebook like many golf operators already have. That was the kind of the first one that we all jumped on. It was easy. That's no longer the thing now. You know, there's definitely a good market there. There's a lot of people that are there, but the millennials are focusing on the Instagram world. So, you know, from my experience, if you're not engaging the millennials via Instagram, you're missing a key aspect there. Like I say, the millennial market is the heartbeat of growth. We focus on every promotion that we put together. Is the one question we ask ourselves is this post worthy? That's kind of what it all comes down to, is when you come to Poppy Hills or you come to Poppy Ridge, are you going to post about your experience to your friends? Are you going to share this with your world? Word of mouth is no longer the 5 people I see on my way home, on my way going home. It's everybody that you know, their friends' friends. It's a huge, huge reach that one good experience can generate. So making sure that we're focusing on the experience that you get when you come to our property. Are you going to turn around and say, oh my God, I can't wait to take a picture of this, snap it on Snapchat, share this with my friends? That's going to touch a ton of other people in that same market, and it's just going to spread the excitement of our brand. Sounds great. And amazing the fact that you actually have millennial in your job title, which is amazing. Jeehae, a lead director of Topgolf Tour and Topgolf Crush. On the subject of social media, you've got to be one of the best, sort of sharing the narrative of all things Topgolf. I'm certainly a follower, but looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited as a self-proclaimed golf nerd. I grew up playing golf all my life, and after college I played a little bit of professional golf as well, a little bit on the LPGA Tour in 2009, 10, and 11. So I really care deeply about the game of golf and engaging millennials and keeping them in the golf world. That's something that I'm very passionate about, so I'm very grateful to be on today. Been with Topgolf for about 2.5 years, and really to get to the heart of why Topgolf has been, how Topgolf has engaged millennials successfully. I mean, it's really the experience itself. We've built our experience on 4 things that everyone, especially millennials, love. That's play, meaning, you know, some kind of an interactive physical experience, food, music, and community. And even if you're not a golfer, I mean, if you've been to Topgolf, you know that there's something that everybody can enjoy. It's got the interactive gaming experience. You can eat delicious food off of our, you know, chef-driven menu. There's drinking going on at times, and you can listen to music, watch TV, and also it's an inherently social experience. And by social, I mean you're with other people that you enjoy spending time with, but also social in the digital sense in that, you know, everyone's constantly taking photos and videos of what they're doing at Topgolf, of our venue, their swing, goofing around with friends. So, I mean, that's, I think, at the core of how we engage millennials. But we also, you know, we recognize that millennials care deeply about brands that have purpose and meaning, and they stand with philanthropic causes that they care about. So, you know, we at the local and national level, we have deep partnerships with organizations like the Make-A-Wish, Folds of Honor, MD Anderson. And at the local level, the marketing managers are constantly, you know, reaching out to the local community and partnering with community events and causes that are important to the millennials and just the community itself. And then lastly, we've really embarked on this about 1.5 years ago with the with Topgolf Media, but we've started creating digital content, and we currently have the world's largest digital golf audience. And to that audience, we're delivering unique content like The Hook, which features Lady Annabelle and Charles Kelly and Chef Showdown and Topgolf Tour. There's something for everybody, and it really keeps that millennial audience engaged even when they're not in our venues or thinking about visiting our venues.
I've just been taking notes here while you guys have been talking, and there's some common denominators to a lot of what you guys are talking about, which is diversifying your portfolio. So if you're just a golf facility, how can you not just simply be a golf facility? If you're a social facility, you know, what exactly are you offering people? And then more importantly, how are you sharing that? How are you sharing that message, or who's sharing that message for you? When I get asked about, I got a sort of classic master's in journalism from Columbia University. Almost the day that I graduated, I think the program started changing and shifting into making and producing a little bit more of a savvier, a much more a digital distributor. And I'd be curious to find out how and where you're finding these social, you know, as you're creating this content, who are you getting to create that content? Is it one person? Is it a team of 10 people? And they become your sort of in-house journalists, I would imagine. Is that sort of fair to say?
Yeah, Matt, this is Cole from Poppy Hills. I would say definitely. You know, when I started, like I said, I was the head golf professional, doing everything that head golf professionals do, and we realized that there's this need for this constant content. These people are, I always say, you know, we have to feed them. They're not here, but they want to engage with our brand, and if you're not out there showing them what's happening literally almost every moment of every day, you're missing it, because somebody, probably one of your competitors, is doing that. So that's how my job position was created. Is we sat there and it's like, you only have so much time to do the head pro stuff, but what we were really seeing is there's this need for somebody that is their job. That is their full-time job, is to focus on social media, to focus on the millennials, to make sure that you're keeping all of your customers, all those that choose to engage with your brand, you're giving them what they want.
Matt, this is Giff. I would also just add to that, because I think that's exactly right, but we've enjoyed a fair amount of success with partners as well. So we have a partnership with a local television station, local radio station, Bon Secours Hospital, Lexus of Richmond. All are very active on social media and partner with us on the content front, which obviously gets us a lot more distribution than we might have on our own.
There's a question here from Michelle, and I'm going to probably mispronounce the last name, but Wedigi, maybe. And she brings up a good point, because if you focus so much on millennials, meanwhile, you have a base of baby boomers, maybe not necessarily at a place like Topgolf, but maybe at a place like Poppy Hills or TPC San Antonio. How do you all see your baby boomer generation reacting to the millennial actions you are all taking? Are they frustrated with the technology, not pleased with laser tag in the clubhouse? How do you deal with their reactions if they're negative, if this becomes actually a kind of a conflict of two generations?
This is Matt from San Antonio, TPC. I'll answer that if that's okay, briefly here. This is in my opinion, and certainly mine alone, but I think it's important. You got to remain true to your core product, right? Whether it's golf or whether it's something else. You know, the goal is, if you lose sight of your core product because you're introducing other areas, the public's going to lose sight of that too, right? So the goal is, how do you keep your product true? In our case, fantastic course conditions, certainly customer service, beverage cart, everything that goes along with a fantastic golf experience. How do you keep that true? And then if you can have that solid foundation, you can end up adjusting where the millennials get what they need, the baby boomers get what they need. Certainly you add in family programs from a membership standpoint, or instructional programs. But I think the way you be all things to all people is, as long as your core product stays exactly where you need it to be, the rest of it can have a little margin of error there.
Would you agree, Giff?
Yeah, I would say that for the most part, our baby boomers understand that golf is tough right now, and that in order to deliver world-class conditions and world-class food and other experiences, that we had to redefine ourselves from being a golf course to an experiential entertainment center. And so there's a little bit of give and take. And for the most part, they've been very, very supportive. We have had, I'd say, some pushback from the senior population, not so much the boomers, but the retirees, 70, 75 years old. And unfortunately, as Matt just said, you can't be all things to all people. And so we have driven away some of those folks.
Jeehae, were you going to jump in?
Yeah, and was just going to say, for Topgolf, we're at the core of it, we want to bring people together, whether they're golfers or non-golfers, and provide a great social experience. So what we've seen is that Topgolf can mean something different for the avid golfer, or maybe someone of a little slightly older generation who care about getting some kind of a golf experience without having to perhaps leave their families or friends who may not be golfers. So it's a great place to bring groups like that together for them to spend time as a group while still partaking in a golf experience.
The other thing that's interesting to me about Topgolf is, and I've been to so many of them all around the country, and at different times of the day, it seems by day it's family, it's very focused on making it an enjoyable experience. There's not a ton of music, but there is other options and things to do. But as the night comes along and a certain point in which it kind of literally shifts from a family atmosphere to a party atmosphere, you know, and then you've got the multiple floors. Generally at a Topgolf, you have different floors. Not unlike, not like I was like a big raver back in the day, but I mean, you'd go to different, you know, different facilities, bars or places, and you know that the top floor had a theme and the second floor had a specific theme. Is it kind of keeping times of day specific and keeping different floors specific, or you know, and kind of isolating the activities depending on who your clientele is at that time?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the first floor generally tends to be a little more family friendly. The music's a little bit lower throughout the day. You're absolutely right that during the day the music's slightly lower volume, and it's not the kind of music that you would jump around and dance to. Generally slightly more mellow, but towards the middle of the day and later in the evening, you know, we do have louder music, especially on the second and third floors. Also, programming-wise, I mean, there's a ton of marketing programs that are programmed into our venues, and they cater to different groups. For example, you know, during the summer months, we've got something called Topgolf Nights on weekend nights where we have live music, live DJs on the rooftop bars, which obviously cater to that kind of millennial audience. But we also have, you know, Work is Play kind of program where we want to reach out to the corporate community and have them use Topgolf as a meeting space and a workspace during the weekdays.
This question from George is probably more for Giff, Matt, and Cole, and that is, how are you drawing millennials to golf tournaments? He says he feels like a lot of golfers are moving towards leisure golf and away from club tournaments, and is that necessarily a bad thing?
I can jump on that. This is Cole. I think that, you know, it's the same thing as millennials want to have an experience. They want something that's going to be fun. So we're taking these traditional tournaments, your 2-day, your 8 o'clock shotgun, your dinner afterwards, and we're turning it into more of a, we've got a long drive contest before, we've got live music, we're teeing off at 11 o'clock. We're finding areas where the millennials are into it, still keeping it true to the game. You know, when you're coming to Pebble Beach, there's something that is expected. There's an environment that people are looking forward to, but it doesn't mean you can't have fun, you know, and that's the key. And I think the same goes towards baby boomers. They want to have fun too, and as we learn what people are getting excited about, I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Are you giving them experience that's fun and enjoyable? And that, you know, with tournaments, we're just adjusting them. We're starting it at different times. We're coming up with creative prizes. We have cornhole beforehand. We have shuffleboard afterhand. Just adding stuff to it that attracts the millennials on top of the already current clients of the the baby boomers and those that are looking for a traditional tournament.
This is Matt from TPC. I'll answer as well. It sounded like that question was private club in nature, right? Specific to, okay, are they playing in this member event this weekend versus with their foursome? And, you know, I think the question was, is that bad? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I mean, I think we have to be careful not to rewrite the script, right? What I mean by that is the ultimate goal is that you have a healthy club, you've got a healthy private club, it's growing, member satisfaction is at an all-time high. From a stakeholder standpoint, you've got profitability for your ownership group, if you will. So when I say there may not be a right or wrong answer, if you've got a millennial who wants to play in the event and your club can succeed like Cole's is doing and making it fun, fantastic. On the other hand, if that millennial wants to come out and play with his 4 buddies and have their speaker on where that particular event may not have a speaker because it's a club championship per se and may be serious in nature, then that's okay too, right? Sometimes it's okay. They just want to go play with their 4 buds and turn the speaker on. I think we got to be careful not to totally. We want to guide the conversation, but you also got to listen to them as well. And sometimes the way of listening is, hey, are they happy members? Is the club healthy for all stakeholders? And if it is, then if they're playing in a tournament, great. If they're playing leisure, great. But let's not try to rewrite the script just for the sake of it.
Giff?
Yeah, I think it's 2 very different targets. We host the University of Richmond golf team here. We run the Michael Breed Junior Invitational here. We have the Robbins Junior programs here, all that are aimed at people who want to play competitive golf. And then we have the millennial crew who doesn't. They want to play in 2 hours and use their phone and maybe win a pizza, go for a hole-in-one, hit balls at a car. So I think the products are very, very different. So we really haven't tried to move the fun crowd into tournament golf. We've sort of let the tournament golf incubate itself through these other programs.
This is probably a question for everyone, but Lindsay Wright wants to know, do you think the millennial generation will, quote, grow up and become more like your baby boomers over time and eventually settle into the original culture of the facility? In other words, stay true to what you're doing and let them come to you, kind of a thing.
I think, this is Giff, I think that's very dangerous. I think there are examples everywhere. Look at BlackBerry as an example, right, when we first started getting the cell phones. So I think if we're not changing, we're backing up. And I think that the days of our father's golf club are over. I think millennials are very demanding of value, not necessarily price. I think they want unique experiences. They're much more of a customer who will talk about the experience on social media, as the other panelists have said. And I don't think there's any kind of going back to the way things were.
I think Jeehae would probably really love if golf courses just stayed true to the baby boomers. It would be good for her business, right?
I mean, I'm a frequent customer of golf courses of all types, golf facilities of all types. I think there's merit to different types of golf experiences. So.
Very politically correct. Anybody else want to answer that one?
And I just might add again, sorry, Matt, it's Giff. I mean, we're working with Topgolf. Topgolf has a program called Top Tracer and Swing Suites. And we're looking at both of those products and trying to figure out, okay, as a public golf course, how can we draft off of what Topgolf clearly has figured out?
Yeah. Jeehae, on that note, Brendan McCarthy wants to know, how do you manage the menu? How do you all craft the food and beverage experience to appeal to your audience?
Yeah, I think the menu it speaks to the type of food that that everybody can enjoy. I keep saying that, but when you go through a Topgolf menu, it's a big menu. There's the traditional burgers and fries, but we've also got things like fall bowls that, you know, got veggies and, you know, roasted veggies and bacon and things like that that are slightly healthier. But we do have an amazing culinary team that does a lot of R&D, has test kitchens where, you know, the associates like myself get to taste the food, and, you know, we put a lot of work into crafting a menu that can cater to a lot of different appetites. And we're doing things like, you know, the Chef Showdown, which is a new content series that we released this year. It's been very, very popular. That just goes to show that, you know, we have real chefs in each of our venues that are constantly innovating to cater to the changing appetites and tastes.
Cole, this is probably good for you, just given the place in which Poppy Hills has been involved and the NCJA has been involved in youth on course. But Donald McKay is asking, what role do you see for the USGA and other national associations in attracting millennials to the game? One of my frustrations with the development of youth on course is that one of these tent poles of the game hasn't gotten behind it. I've said it many times. I've said it on there. I think it's a good fit for the USGA, and yet they seem to continue to sit idly by and wait for it to, quote, go national before they really get behind it. My sense is if you sit back and keep waiting for something like the USGA to get involved on any of this stuff, whether it's attracting millennials or not, you might be waiting too long. Would you say that's probably true?
Yes, I do. I think that, you know, one of the things that Poppy Hills and Poppy Ridge pride themselves on in the NCGA is being the leader. You're not always going to make the right moves. You're not always going to make the best decision. Some things are going to work, some things aren't going to work. But what we've learned is going out and trying it and being the first one to do it, there's a level of respect and there's a level of you know, we kind of feel responsible, you know, as these two facilities to be the ones that are there to say, hey, let's try this. Is the one-day tournament, the Net Am Tour, is that the way to go to get this market? It doesn't have to, we don't have to change everything, but we can add things to it. And I honestly think the USGA I think they're going to follow suit. I think that, you know, you can only sit back and watch so long before you realize that things are changing. And when you sit in a webinar and listen to conversations like the ones we're having today, it's obvious that the game is changing. And them as a leader, I don't think they're going to sit back and watch it change without being a big part of it.
Everybody agree there?
I hope not, at least.
You know, this is Matt from TPC San Antonio. It's interesting Cole says that. When I was doing some of the research, not only for this webinar, but just from the millennial stuff, an example, just as a whole, one of the definitions that it mentioned was millennials are entrepreneurial. So when Cole says, hey, they like you to try new stuff, I kind of thought the same thing when I was looking at that. Like, not only do they like you to try new stuff, but they probably almost forgive you if you roll something out and that one doesn't work, because they're glad you tried something and they're going to look for the next thing that you're doing. So, Cole, certainly you do a lot of work with it, and it seems to ring true specific to some of the homework we did where it specifically listed that they're very, have this entrepreneur spirit to them.
Something happened here. I'm not sure. I lost the chat, but I do remember one of the questions. I'm not going to be able to remember the name, but someone was asking, do you guys believe in sort of starting a club within your club? And one example, I think I was just reading through the question. They said they've started a UFC club. It's an under 40 club. Can you, if you've got a private club or if you've got a membership within your sort of public facility, which I think is kind of the case at TPC San Antonio, can you, and kind of goes back to some of the conversation already happening, which is kind of separating the group out and kind of catering to either millennials or baby boomers or even the elder statesmen of the club. Do you guys believe in that? Do you guys kind of, has that been good practice?
One example I can speak to is our leagues, and this might not be exactly what this person was looking for in terms of an answer, but it's the closest thing I can think of a club within a club. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we have 2-person and 4-person leagues. I think 12 weeks per season, and it's a program that caters to anybody who wants to work on their game a little bit more in a regular setting. It's a friendly competition that happens throughout the season. So, and it's been successful for us. It creates a sense of community within a community, and another, reason to come to Topgolf on a regular basis. So.
And Matt, this is Giff. I'll put on my Kinlock hat real quick. I think that setting those kinds of clubs up could have unintended consequences. I think sometimes you end up forming cliques that then look at the facility only through an under 40 lens and don't understand why this is happening or that is happening that may be benefiting a different constituent within your facility. And so that if you do that, I think it's important to try to figure out how to make sure that the under 40s are hanging out with the over 50s in some way, shape, or form as well.
Yeah, this is Matt from TPC. I could not agree with Giff more. In fact, I think at a club, groups happen organically, right? And you know, what you're trying to do is create a membership family. Not every family is always going to get along at every holiday, right? But how do you create a membership family so you're guiding the club for the future? And heck, you're battling that with the groups being created just organically, right? So I'd actually say you do the complete opposite. You try to get the groups where it's more of a cohesive unit, knowing that you're going to fight that naturally. That being said, that doesn't mean you can't cater to certain groups. I mean, you know, some groups, fine, you might do a program for one specific group and see if others want to participate, but I think you start dipping your toe in the waters of trying to purposely create groups when you know it's already probably going to happen anyway at a club is, you know, it's kind of dangerous territory.
And then I'll jump on from a public sector is people love clubs around here. There's a golf course in Northern California called Hagen Oaks that I don't know if there's anybody that does it any better. They literally have an event, and what they did is they didn't separate it from the crowd that wants to come play golf at 8 o'clock and have a traditional setting. They opened the driving range 24 hours. So they said, look, we're in the heart of Sacramento. We've got this huge millennial crowd. We're going to start opening our driving range 24 hours. They have trivia nights. They have Thirsty Thursday nights. They have cornhole leagues. I was talking to Zach Hall. He's the director of Millennial Golf there. And we were on the phone yesterday kind of preparing for this call, and we said, can you believe we're sitting here talking about cornhole leagues and we're two golf professionals? And that's really, I mean, the millennial crowd likes to be part of a group, and they want to share it with like-minded people. So I think that, you know, from a public sector, if you can utilize those hours that aren't affecting your traditional golfers, you know, your 8 o'clock tee time needs to be your 8 o'clock tee time. Your 9 o'clock, that's a set thing. There's an expectation there, but there's these hours, your 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Where can you add some groups and some fun, throw in some trivia, have some life-size Jenga, do some stuff that, you know what, I think you'd be surprised and you'll see a lot of baby boomers join in that crowd as well.
All good stuff there, and that goes back to your point you were making about don't be afraid to sort of be a leader. Try a bunch of things, see what happens, yeah. see what's successful, and then go back to the things that are working and eliminate the things aren't, and keep trying other things. Right? Is that kind of the idea?
Exactly.
Joe Houston is wanting to know, and this is to the panel, what do you think is the best Grow the Game initiative, and any ideas on how to keep those members engaged when they, quote, graduate from those programs such as First Tee, Youth on Course, Get Golf Ready, Drive, Chip and Putt, PGA Junior League, et cetera? Giff, why don't you start?
Sure, I'd say all of the above, but I would say that the one that we've really had kind of an unexpected smile on our face from is these free clinics that we run on Friday late afternoon and Saturday morning, where we've gotten a lot of families to kind of come out and do it together. We also have a par 3 facility that then we're able to get people down there, but it really has lowered any anxiety that somebody might have about not good enough to pay for a lesson. To just kind of come out and experience a facility. We'll pay the instructor, and he's done a fabulous job, and he's gotten some clients out of that too. But that's been one that we've really been pleasantly surprised by.
Matt?
Yeah, it's I don't know if I'll say there's the best because there's a lot of good ones, and I'll only go on a larger scale because Matt, it sounded like you had given some examples. I would say it's hard to argue with the First Tee, and it's hard to argue with Topgolf, right? I mean, what I will say is my son, I've experienced in the last week, you know, my son just turned 13, and I said, you know, hey, I want you to come take a golf lesson with our instructor. for those that are listening, I did pay. But that being said, and he kind of got a little nervous, and I told him, I said, I'm not looking, you don't have to get on tour. I just want you to have fun. So in 10 years, when you and I are together for Thanksgiving, we can go tee it up. And once I said the word fun, he's like, great. So I think it's hard to argue with the first tee that's building a lot of fundamentals around traditional golf, and it's hard to argue with Topgolf, who I've taken my kids there, and one of my kids hit it like 40 yards to the right, but they scored a point, and they're like, wow, I just hit a good shot. So those two are pretty, pretty heavy in the marketplace, and I think we've done a good job of connecting to them, not only TPC Network, but with the tour, having partnerships with both of those organizations.
And Cole, I guess, is it too soon to even know what you do to try to keep graduates of youth on course, to continue playing?
I think that if we're not thinking about that, we're in trouble. I know that that's a constant conversation. There's that disconnect between we're juniors, we're playing golf, and just a quick YOC Youth on Course. They are in 20 states. There's over 100,000 $5 rounds a year. It's affordable golf, and we've got them hooked. So now the next question is what do we do to keep them hooked? We don't want to see them disappear. And all this programming, all of these things, these afternoon things, not jeopardizing your brand, not putting a bunch of junior tee times in at your, like, again, I always hit this 9 o'clock tee time, but that's kind of your traditional golf time. But finding stuff for them to do. Golf doesn't have to be 18 holes on the golf course. These juniors, I've never seen more fun than when we set up our driving range and did Big Break for junior golf. It was the most fun. It's one of the most fun things we ever have. We have glass break weekly. We've got glass break competitions, and it's not just the juniors that are doing it, but I think just keeping kids engaged in the game, whether it's just coming to the golf course to pound balls at the range, having fun things that get them to want to do that. And again, there's definitely a lot in the cooker as far as how we're going to keep them continuing to be part of the game. But I think for right now, it's just don't lose them. We have them. We've just got to keep them engaged, and we've got to be creative and fiscally responsible with how we do that.
Jeehae, do you guys do you see yourselves at Topgolf as a grow the game initiative, or are you trying to stay more focused on how do we get the younger generation to eventually go from those family times we were talking about in that lower level of Topgolf to eventually become participants in the top level of Topgolf and the more social components later on in life?
Yeah, no, I think we've definitely embraced the fact that we are part of the engine that's contributing to growing the game of golf, and we take that as a pretty serious responsibility. We work with all the governing bodies in the game of golf, and we also have programs that are specifically designed to, move top golfers down the funnel to become golfers. I mean, just to give you some numbers, this year we're expecting 13 million visits across the U.S., half of which are they consider themselves non-golfers, or they play fewer than once a year. So, naturally we are at the top of the funnel. We're engaging a lot of non-golfers in a golf activity in our venues.
You said half of that 13 million? You said half of 13 million consider themselves non-golfers?
Over 50% are non-golfers.
Wow.
But we're also doing things like Summer Academy for kids throughout 10 weeks during the summer, where kids are coming in. I mean, they're doing fun things, and they want the chicken nuggets that they get while they're in the venue, but they're also they have a golf club in their hands, and they're swinging, and they're hitting golf balls, they're scoring points, and they're loving it, and they'll eventually hopefully grow to be adults that are familiar with the golf swing and familiar with the game of golf versus seeing it as an activity that they would never partake in. But we also have instruction programs, like Topgolf U is our brand of golf instruction, and instead of just offering one-on-one hour-long lessons, we realized that group lessons and group classes to kind of lower the barrier to entry when it comes to golf instruction and skill building. It's something that we've taken on, and been very popular. You know, $25 for an hour of golf class. I mean, it's kind of a entry-level product for those who may not have, you know, traditionally opted in for a golf lesson.
Blake Davis wants to know thoughts on private clubs, quote, advertising to their local community to get membership leads through social media ads. Traditionally, most private clubs don't advertise from a revenue standpoint. Most clubs need new members. Giff?
Yeah, I would say that again depends. I'd say in most markets there's kind of a pecking order of clubs. I can't imagine Pine Valley taking out an ad to say they need members. But as you sort of move down the food chain, clubs need to do what they need to do to survive, and that's why I think that they really do have a challenge sort of in front of them. But clubs used to be like fraternities at a college, would feed themselves off of like people, and again, that's not what's happening with the club. So I don't see any problem with it. And again, here at Independence, we've taken a step further. I mean, we advertise. I mean, we are like a ballpark. People come out here. We have logos on the range balls. We have sponsors for the water coolers, Lexus beverage cars. We have 40 sponsors. And so there are some people who are taken aback by that when they show up. But, you know, they've figured out how to get over it.
Matt?
I actually don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think, you know, it's funny, we've been in some sales trainings, and one of my colleagues made a really smart comment and said the sales training was how to maybe close a membership, right? And this colleague said, I don't think I have a problem how to close. I just need more people to talk to close, right? So I think it's easy to say you got to go out and find people. I am a big believer that you can actually advertise a private club. Now Pine Valley, sure, let's take that off the list. But I think in our segment, you can actually advertise your club and still keep exclusivity if the messaging is correct. You know, you might hint at a membership promotion but not give the details. For example, you might hint at some exclusivity but not give away the pricing that your current members paid. So I'm actually for it, but I think you have to get your messaging exactly right, and you can live in both worlds.
And if it's smart integration within your social narrative, you may not even have to even have it look at all like advertising. And I wonder if you agree with this or not, Cole, but if you're, and Jeehae for that matter, if you're as good as you hope to be in sort of visually communicating your narrative and creating the sense that this is a cool place to be and you can't miss, and here we're serving of a wide variety of clientele with a wide variety of things and not maybe necessarily just golf, isn't that advertising? Isn't that the way advertising is going now anyway?
100%. I mean, that's what we do is, you know, when I think about putting a post out and what am I going to put out is I like to think about how can I disrupt the news feed. That's one thing. So, I mean, if you're going to be effective at it, you can't be something that they're going to quickly scroll over. If it's an ad, the first thing you're going to do is quickly scroll over that. So you got to give them something that stops them, that says, I'm going to give it 2 more seconds of my time. And that's probably all you're going to get is 2 more seconds. And then to go a little bit further on it, I'm not at a private club, but if I was, I would absolutely. The algorithm on Facebook allows you to put the exact message to the exact person you're looking for. So you're not advertising to every single person out there that's looking at your club. You're advertising to a person that has a certain net wealth. You're advertising to a person that has a certain job. You're advertising to a person that is a member at another club that could possibly be a rival. So you can get really, we like to call it ninja. You can get really ninja with it and make sure that you're not just selling yourself out as a private club. You can be very specific with who sees that ad.
Jeehae, any comment?
Yeah, I would just add to that. It's definitely, you know, when we post on social media, it's a combination of different things. But you know, we're generally trying to communicate a feeling of what it's like to be at Topgolf. It's not necessarily about, you know, eat this and do that. But also, in terms of our content, something we've done very well this year is, moving towards creating more of a lifestyle brand through content. If you look at the hook, we're not necessarily, filming at a Topgolf, but we're creating this lifestyle brand through the content and the influencers that are part of the Topgolf branded content series.
Hi, guys, we're running out of time, I think, but I'll end with one sort of wrap-up question. As we saw Tiger coming back with the Hero World Challenge and swinging like, or at least with the kind of power that the old Tiger did, and the smile back, and sort of this embrace of the younger generation to the older generation, and a lot of that playing out on the professional level. When Tiger first stormed the scene in the mid-'90s, late 90s, he brought a lot of people to the game, and I've always said that I'm not sure the game was ready for that wave of people, that tsunami of interest, and we kind of turned a lot of people away. It was too expensive. It was too hard. We took a bunch of people who probably belonged on bunny slopes, and we took them to the top of double diamonds, and we pushed them down the hill, and we said, hey, wasn't that fun? Do you want to go back up to the top of the hill? And they all said, no, actually, I'm out of here. And that's where the emergence of things like Topgolf came. And now here Tiger comes back, and say, for example, if he were to bring another wave of interest to the game, do you think the game is better equipped and better prepared and more diversified with all this conversation? I mean, I guess there's an obvious answer here, but don't you feel like we're better prepared to introduce the game at all levels, of all ages, of all skills, of all budgets now as opposed to 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, Giff, I'll take that. I think, Matt, I think if you look at boots on the ground, the courses that have survived, I would agree with you 100%. Kind of coming back is the USGA, is the PGA Tour, are the various other governing bodies, or the local state golf associations. Are they ready for the wave of Tiger? Just speaking for Virginia, our Virginia State Golf Association is really focused on high-end golf tournaments and handicaps. Well, nothing could be further from millennials than that. So I would say that there are segments of the sport that are prepared, and like you, I had a front row seat for what Tiger did for golf, and it was amazing. And I only hope that it could happen again, and we learn from the past.
And just go down the line, Matt.
Well, I mean, I think it'd be hard to say we're not more prepared. I mean, heck, I was having a call with my boss earlier about, aren't golf shops kind of antiquated? You got a golf shop counter, and we look at the Apple stores are doing. I'm just using that as an example. Why don't you just checking people at the first tee, but then you won't get people in the golf shop. So of course, I think it'd be hard pressed to say we're not. But we still got plenty of work to do.
Cole?
I've got Tiger Tuesdays on my social feed. So, I mean, I think that enough tells you I think we're ready for it. I think there's a huge group of people, millennials especially, that are excited. We want that recharge. We want to see it come back. And I think that the golf course operators have the resources and the channels to keep that message out there and to get them excited about it and to show them that there's ways to enjoy the game that aren't your old school traditional ways.
Certainly think that 13 million visits would go way up if, especially at places like Topgolf that are so equipped and are have such an open door policy, regardless of who you are, and regardless of your skill level, and regardless of what your goals or ambitions are, right? Jeehae, right? Topgolf is ready for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And our goal is to really be everywhere that millennials and others would want to play the game of golf in all different types of formats. Our venues, we're at 35 locations now. We're growing rapidly, and we're doing things like Topgolf Crush, where it's outside of our venues. We're providing Topgolf or golf experience in stadiums and sports venues and swing suite, simulators. So really, I think we're ready to capture the new wave of golfers.
All right. I'm not sure if we lost Chris or not, but at some point I got a notice that I'm now the host, so I'm not sure what happened there. I hope everybody's still hearing us.
Like I said, we're still here. Sorry, there was a glitch on my end. You dealt with it well, though. I do want to thank Matt Ginella for moderating for us today, and our panel, Giff, Matt Flory, Cole Handley, and Jeehae. My GCSAA members, just hold on. I'm going to show you your code at the end after we wrap up. I'd also like to thank Golf 2020 and the World Golf Foundation. They've spent a lot of time and resources in millennial golf with the Golf Task Force and other resources that have come out that have promoted millennial golf and awareness to the entire industry. Matt, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, this will forever be my first webinar. So thank you for your patience.
Well, you did unbelievably.
Oh, good.
You did great. And for those GCSAA members, I'm going to show you the code right now. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all.
Pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.